Good afternoon. I'm Joyce Seidman.
I'm Peter Garred, and this is Futurescope. Holidays and home movies, scenes of the family together. With today's video equipment, the conventional 8mm camera will soon be stepping down to allow a new generation of filmmaking to come forward.
It's been said that planes are safer than cars and even less dangerous than taking a shower. Part of the reason for that is because pilots are so well trained, and these days their training is more comprehensive than ever. Futurescope has the facts. We'll look at them. CAE Electronics is changing the future of aviation. How are they doing it? They're revolutionizing airplane simulators. They've gathered together some facts on the industry, and we're going to show them to you now.
In this 30,000 square meter engineering and manufacturing complex in Saint-Laurent on the outskirts of Montreal, CAE Electronics, largest member of the CAE Industries family of companies, designs and produces flight simulators for every type of commercial jet aircraft available today, as well as simulators for military and transport aircraft and helicopters. Each flight simulator is conceived here in CAE's engineering section. In the drafting department, technicians use digitizers and CRT entry devices to create precision drawings of the simulator's printed circuit boards and other component parts. The flatbed plotter automatically converts tape stored in the computer to actual engineering drawings. Once the simulator has been designed, a detailed model of the flight deck platform is made in order to verify the structural design before actual construction begins. Literally miles of wiring are required to complete the vast number of electronic circuits in a simulator or in a control system. CAE assembles all of its own wiring harnesses in this fabrication area. Here, a braiding machine wraps a protective shield around multiple strands of wire. Without soldering, these semi-automated wire wrap machines link hundreds of printed circuit board connections required for the complex functions of a simulator or a control system. All of CAE's printed circuit boards are produced in-house due to their highly specialized nature. Each assembled printed circuit board is carefully inspected for defects. CAE also manufactures the platform, which forms the base for the simulator crew compartment. This completed section is being prepared for painting. Modern high-speed, tape-controlled machine tools like this vertical machining center are used to produce many of the simulator's intricate metal components. Manufactured parts are then inspected for critical tolerances on this precision coordinate measuring machine. In this area of the plant, flight simulators begin to take shape. The crew compartments and cockpits are built to closely resemble the specific aircraft they represent. Whenever a simulator order for a new aircraft type is received, a wood mock-up of the crew compartment is made first. The mock-up is used as a design tool to precisely lay out the location of aircraft equipment and instructor stations. This mock-up also serves as a pattern for the mold on which the fiberglass body is made. Here, workmen are putting the finishing touches to a Boeing 727 crew compartment shell, which will be an identical twin to the real aircraft flight deck down to the very last detail. To create a completely authentic environment for the pilot, the interior of a simulator requires special attention. Every facet of the cockpit, seats, controls, lighting, and instrumentation must be faithfully reproduced. And actual aircraft components are used wherever possible. When the crew compartment is finished, the complete flight deck assembly is mounted on a motion system. CAE pioneered development of the 6 degree of freedom motion system. This system accurately reproduces motion cues for each aircraft type in all phases of flight operation. CAE's advanced hydrostatic motion and control loading systems design achieves a level of fidelity not previously available in flight simulators. This fidelity is particularly important in the final approach and touchdown phases of aircraft flight. It's also one of the main reasons why CAE simulators achieve higher levels of certification from regulatory authorities. Motion effects can be provided for turbulence, for Mach and stall buffet, for engine and rotor vibration, landing impact, runway bumps, snow, and other runway surface conditions.
Mexicana 751 is cleared to the Mexico City airport for an ILS.
The aircrew's sensory environment inside the simulator is complete, visually and orally. Through the windshield, the pilots watch a computer-generated image of a runway as they approach for a landing.
280 at 30, altimeter 2992.
Joining me now is Nelson Asanowski, who's a systems engineer at CAE Electronics. Welcome to Futurescope. Before we go into the technicalities of airplane simulators, can you tell us why one would resort to using one?
Well, the first and foremost reason is cost. An actual aircraft costs a lot more to operate than it does to purchase and operate a simulator. Also, it's much easier to train a pilot on a simulator than it is to train them on the actual plane. Maneuvers and other things that are just impossible or dangerous to do in a real airplane, you can quite safely and quite easily do and redo very often on the simulator.
Going beyond what we just saw in the film clip, can you tell us what makes up an airplane simulator?
Well, there's several main components. The one that was most obvious in the film clip was the motion system. That allows you to feel all the effects of movement inside an airplane. Actually, inside the flight compartment itself, there's the actual flight instruments and visual system. The flight instruments are all identical to the ones that are used on the real planes. They're purchased from the manufacturer. The visual system is there to give the pilots an idea of what they would normally see when they're flying the plane. Currently, there's mainly nighttime visuals. There's also an instructor facility which allows the instructor to insert conditions like fog, snow, or any other malfunctions and engine failure at the same time. The last item is the actual computer itself that drives and controls the whole system.
How does flying in a simulator compare to flying in a real plane?
It's very, very realistic out of necessity. There's certain flight rules that have to be met for a simulator to be licensed so that pilots can be trained on it and they themselves be licensed. So it's very realistic, and once you're inside, you can't really tell much difference.
What does it take to simulate an event during the flying session?
Most events are laid out in advance by the aircraft manufacturers. There's a syllabus prepared, and the airlines have to train with this syllabus. All events that take place and special conditions that the pilots have to go through are all documented there. Most companies just follow the syllabus exactly. Some do some more conditions, but it's not really needed.
Is the situation randomly chosen by the computer?
No, the situations are laid out in lesson plans in advance as part of the trainer's capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Now, the pilots who are flying in a simulator are aware that they're in a simulator. So how would their reaction measure in a simulator as compared to how it would in real life, like if they have an accident or something?
The pilots are in flying as a business. They take it very seriously. They're rated on the simulators when they're every couple of months, when they're renewing their licenses or getting a new one for a new type of craft. They take it seriously to the point that whether they're flying a simulator or the real plane, it's the same to them. It has to be, because their jobs depend on it, as well as possibly their lives.
Mm-hmm. In a simulator, how realistic is a crash or a takeoff?
Crashes are realistic up until the moment of impact. Everything is identical. Just after the moment of impact, the special system on the motion system cuts in and prevents anybody from getting hurt inside the aircraft or damaging any of the equipment because of a strong jar or stop.
In the duration of a pilot's training, do things like crashes happen very often?
Well, they're trained to handle unusual circumstances like strong winds or snow or engine failures. But crashes themselves, they don't intentionally cause them. A crash happens when the pilot is unable to recover from some other malfunction or condition.
What is the future of airplane simulators?
Airplane simulators have come to the point where we can train a pilot completely on a simulator without ever having to do any time in the air on the plane. The first flight that the pilot makes is an actual flight with passengers on board.
Okay, just briefly now, can you tell me if it's actually true that planes can end up landing 200 meters below a runway or crash through a mountain?
Yes, they can. It's not the usual circumstances. These conditions would have to be actually set up or forced by the instructor or whoever's controlling the simulator. It's not the usual situation. Sometimes a mistake can happen and you will end up below the runway, but it's not, the simulators are not intended to be used that way.
You said before that they can only simulate flights at night. Do you expect that they'll be able to do them during the day in the near future?
They can already do them during the day, but they're not the same quality as the nighttime visuals. The early ones sometimes look like cartoons. More recent ones are beginning to look quite realistic, but not completely.
Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us here at Futurescope. We're going to be back with more Futurescope right after this message.
My guest on Futurescope today is Mr. Alain Rouleau. He's the director of J.M. Saucier, a video and audio retail outlet. Mr. Rouleau, welcome to the show.
Hi, Peter.
I noticed you brought some pretty interesting looking equipment with you here, and I was hoping you could tell us just a little bit about what it is.
Well, it's the new 1983 model there from Hitachi people. Just came out there from Japan there, just for you. I brought those two machines because I think right now is the top notch right now in the market as video goes in portables.
This is from your store?
It is. It is, in fact. And I brought to you two small cassettes so that we can show to the people exactly, you know, what it is about the boat system.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Okay. Well, there's two systems. They're called Betamax, and they're called VHS. As the Betamax goes, is if we go back in the history of video, Sony went out, Sony was the first one there to go on that kind of marketplace. And they used the system there in B. And this is the size of the cassettes of the Beta versus of the VHS. Beta, the name came because of the B system inside.
The B system inside, can you elaborate
the
on that?
transport inside, it's like a B.
Shaped like a B?
Shaped like a B. And the one for the VHS, well, the format inside is like a U.
The letter, you're talking about letters?
The letters.
Okay.
VHS remained for video home system.
Okay.
Okay. Then, we were talking about the new machine. This is the new remote infrared, no wires. That machine can do the search, can stop action, can do slow motion. You can change the channel on your machine. The only thing that machine cannot do is cook.
Okay. Does that have anything to do with the camera? As imagine you were out filming somewhere. Would you use that machine at all, that little gadget, that remote control unit?
No, this is the remote control. It's mainly for the house.
For watching?
To use for the house. Watching or even recording. Even editing your own movie that you're making.
What can you do with this? What kind of movies can you make? Where can you go?
Let's say you're working, you're a salesman, and you're selling cars. You can now go with your own unit and go and sell cars to home. I'm just giving you a small example. You can use this to take some picture of the kids in the afternoon. You can use it at 8 o'clock at night to go to get the nice movie on Channel 12. You can, there's a multiple way, you know, to use a video. Video essentially, I think, will be the mainly the art of your own in the future. If we're looking to the future, we're talking computers. If Madame wants to buy a dress or this and that, she'll be later on, you know, be able to program his video and make, see the catalog, recording the catalog of Ethan or the Bay during she's gone to work.
And record it on her machine, and then later show it to her husband or something?
And look once, look twice, and make her choice. These are only one example of the application of video through our life right now. There's a question I would like to touch right now is there's a lot of people which are coming at the store and they say, well, what should I buy? A table model or a portable model? A table model is more for the people who wants to take some sports at home, who wants to record movies, that kind of thing.
Someone that's not going to take it away or outside of the home.
For the people who wants to get the feeling of the past, recording, is the life of his kid today to show to them later on, the 8mm business, which is, let's say, in fact, that if you take 6 hours of recording in video, if you take 6 hours of recording in movies, what it costs to you today to take the film in 8mm, process it for 6 hours, you will have paid your whole equipment in video.
Really?
It is, in fact. Price-wise, well, as some people, they say to us, well, it is shocking, You can find a terrific video table model there for $700 today. We're talking $700 in beta form. You have some deals right now in Montreal, as VHS goes, the latest machine for $750. It is something which is affordable. And you are enjoying your television the proper way. You're not looking with the television that they're showing to you. You're looking what really interesting to you in the television the television programming.
Can you hook this machine up to any television?
It is universal.
Even one of the older black and white models, say, for example?
It is. In fact, it is just a signal going through your tuner on your set. The only thing that you cannot do is if you have some families, in European country. Now they're using one system down there. Even if you're buying a VHS system, you cannot bring or import, if you want, cassettes there from other countries. The meaning, what I'm meaning is this is, we have a system for our television, and they do have a system for their own television on there.
And they're not compatible.
They're not compatible, both systems.
This machine has a memory in it. How does that thing work, and what are its capacities?
Its capacities is, first of all, you have, if I'm taking the tuner in my hand, we have 3 machines in one. We have the clock on that machine.
Is that a timer or is that a clock?
It's a clock, it's a timer, it's a charger.
Is it a calculator too?
They might come next year with it.
Next year. Okay.
This machine will program you 8 programs during 20 days. And you have a choice during those 20 days up to 16 different programs. So let's say tonight...
Of what length would these programs be? An hour or...?
At your choice, because you can record today up to 8 hours. RCA went out with the new cassette. It's not the machine which are giving to you the 8 hours. It is the cassette today. The cassette, it's 8 hours. The regular format is 1 hour, which you can make the 1, 2, and 3 hours with it. And the 2 hours cassette, you can make 2, 4, and 6 hours with it. It's a question of speed. So you are recording on a regular speed, a slow speed, and a super slow speed, which means faster that you're going to record, which is going to be, if you're buying a tape of 2 hours, the result of the 2 hours will be better than if you are recording on 6 hours mode.
What about the camera? What kind of things can you do with that? And
this camera is versus the 8mm. It's this one have there's a choice of 3 tube in camera. You have the Vidicon tube, you have the new Vicon tube, and the Saticon tube. Which is the best? The old version was the Vidicon. I'm not going deep in the thing. Today people want a camera which does not need that much light inside a house. If you do remember, the people who were doing 8mm that time, they were shooting with 25 spots around, you know, the thing there to get light because the machine was unable to take.
Do you need lights with this machine?
This one is a 50 lux camera. This camera can take the picture at home on a regular light. You don't need any kind of lighting to do the job.
Standard living room lighting?
The standard living room light. The balance is when you're looking for a camera, you're going for the feature. It is auto iris, you know, auto iris meaning the diagram is opening, you know, depending of the lights around. You have the autofocus, the difference between both subjects.
It's an automatic focus?
It's fully automatic. The color is fully automatic on. Everything is completely automatic. You just have to zoom in and zoom out, you know, the subject that you want. That's all you do.
I wanted to ask you very quickly, what kind of special effects could you do with this thing?
The special effect, contrary to the 8mm, it's not on the camera, it's on the transport. On the playback of your transport, you cannot build any special effect on the moment you are recording. But it's just afterward that you can add those effects on it, which means you can do the search your what is on the screen, you know, on the rewind mode or on the fast forward mode, which means, you know, a man can walk backward and forward, you know, at the fast movement. You have the slow motion with different speed on. You have the pause still, which means
so it's very sophisticated equipment.
It is.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Riddell, for joining us. More on Futurescope right after this.
There's an organization in Montreal that evaluates inventions. It's called le Centre d'Innovation Industrielle.
The organization will tell you exactly how good your idea is and whether or not it'll make you rich. I'm Peter Garred.
I'm Joyce Seidman. Join us again on Futurescope.